very much, Bob. And now let's get ready to go to the 122-pound division to see two guys who have title belts in the division. Oscar Larios, who's been recognized for the past 3 years as the best fighter in the 122-pound weight class, but fighting here against Israel Vazquez, a fighter who is fighting Larios for the third time, has a record of 1 win and 1 loss against him. 1 knockout win for Vazquez 8 years ago, 1 knockout win for Larios in the 12th round 3 years ago. Now they get ready to do it again. 2-inch height advantage for Larios, who's a long-armed, constant puncher. An arm length advantage of only a ½ inch for Larios. Larios weighed in under the weight limit of 122 at 120.5, then went up 14.5 pounds overnight to 135. As the result, he is surrendering any chance to fight for the title belt that Vazquez has, because the organizational body that fosters Vazquez's belt won't allow a title challenge by somebody who goes up to a level 10 pounds above the weight limit a night before the fight. So therefore, Larios is only fighting to keep his own title here against Vazquez, and Vazquez unofficially is 7 pounds lighter at 128 pounds. CompuBox numbers, punch stat, Larry, that shows us a profile of what happened in the past.
Yeah, we didn't make this up. Over 2,000 punches thrown, 900 landed in that fight.
Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The Oscar Larios Israel Vazquez fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the unified rules that you see on your screen. Jim, real quick, the 4 criteria that the judges will use to score each individual round: clean punching, effective aggressiveness, ring generalship, and defense, with a strong emphasis on clean, effective punching. Jim.
All right, here comes Israel Vazquez, fighting out of Mexico City, although he lives in Los Angeles. You can see the recent record, 6-0, 4 knockouts since his loss to Larios 3 years ago. Tremendously motivated tonight. Handsome young man, and why shouldn't he be, Larry? Because he and his wife operate
a hair salon.
He'll be trying to trim Larios' hair tonight. 8 years ago, they were trading punches in the first round when Vazquez caught Larios point blank on the chin and knocked him out. It's been a long time since then. Larios later knocked Vazquez out in the rematch, but does the memory of that first round knockout fester somewhere in Larios' heart?
Oh, it definitely festers in his heart. It will stay with him for the rest of his life. Every time he sees this guy, he's going to remember that one punch. He might be out there trying to pay him back for it, but he will always remember that one punch.
Of course, the goal for Vazquez, try to focus on the confidence he gains from knowing what he did 8 years ago, as opposed to the finish of their pitched battle 3 years ago when Larios managed to subdue Vazquez and knock him out finally in the 12th round after all those punches that Larry told you about. Vazquez assured of keeping his title belt, win or lose, because of the weight situation which faced Larios.
A correction, Jim. If he loses, I believe that title becomes vacant.
Actually, I was told that as well, and then the supervisor for the governing body came over before the fight and said to me, no, he'll keep the title either way. Now, she could have been wrong.
So it's a non-title.
We've seen it before.
It's a non-title fight for one guy and not for the other.
Apparently so,
and
according to what I was told.
And the reason I think that is because they're considering Larios overweight.
Yes. And of course, weight has become a more salient subject here in Las Vegas since what happened in the second Diego Corrales-Jose Luis Castillo fight, when Corrales, perhaps ill-advisedly, went in against Castillo after Castillo had failed to make the weight and wound up on the short end of the stick. And here's Larios, one of the most exciting fighters in the sport. Larry, he's been kind of biding his time for a few years here, seemingly waiting for the big stars like Barrera and Morales and Juan Manuel Marquez to clear the 126-pound weight class. Are you surprised he hasn't moved up yet?
Well, you can't move up if they won't give you a shot. So he's staying where he is as long as that's where the profit is.
And they won't give him a shot because of the long-armed, constant punching style, Roy?
Awkward and completely fills the ring up with punches. Nobody wants to see him.
But he has a dietary secret weapon. We've learned that in his spare time in Mexico, he hunts, shoots, and eats iguanas. Roast iguana.
So I guess you're telling me, with apologies to film and literature history, that Larios is hoping to make this the night of the iguana?
It is the night of the iguana.
They're both in the ring and ready to meet up in the last preliminary before Taylor Hopkins 2. Let's go to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the official introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight promises to be a great night in boxing history. But at this time, we must pause to honor two members of the boxing fraternity who have passed away. Pat Putnam, a highly decorated Korean War hero, held for 17 months as a prisoner of war deep behind communist lines. He went on to become just as distinguished and admired as the finest boxing journalist of his era. George Horowitz, the man behind the greatest brand in boxing, Everlast. As president and CEO, he elevated the Everlast brand to a level of prominence without peer. To those who knew him, he was a gentleman of class, kindness, and charity, whose memory will be everlasting. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask you at this time to please remain silent as we toll a memorial count of 10 for two members of the boxing fraternity no longer with us, Pat Putnam and George Horowitz. We'll miss them both. Rest in peace. And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the Mandalay Bay Resort Casino of Las Vegas, DeBella Entertainment and Golden Boy Promotions present a World Championship contest sponsored by Rockstar Energy Drink. Party like a rock star. And Ice Link Exquisite Timepieces. Sanctioned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission and the World Boxing Council, and presented in association with HBO Pay-Per-View. The three judges at ringside assigned to score this contest on the 10-point system will be Melvina Lathan, Peter Trematera, and Glenn Trowbridge, and inside the ring, the man in charge of the action, referee Tony Weeks. And now, ladies and gentlemen, from Mandalay Bay here in Las Vegas, Nevada, a battle of two champions, 12 rounds of boxing for the WBC Super Bantamweight Championship of the World. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing blue with silver official weight, 121 pounds. His professional record, 38 victories, including 28 knockouts, with only 3 defeats. De Ciudad de Mexico, the challenger. Title not on the line tonight for him. He's the reigning IBF Super Bantamweight World Champion, Israel El Magnifico Vazquez. And fighting out of the red corner, wearing red trimmed with white, official weight 120.5 pounds. His professional record, 56 victories, including 36 knockouts, with only 3 defeats and 1 draw. Damas y caballeros, de Gimnasio Julian Magdalena, de Guadalajara, Mexico, the reigning defending WBC Super Bantamweight Champion of the World, Oscar Chololo Larios.
Ok. Caballeros, ustedes recibieron sus instrucciones. Mira, aquí está bien, aquí no. Mira, aquí está bien, aquí no. De la cintura para arriba. Yo quiero una pre-olímpica. Escúchame, cuídate. ¿Listos? Vámonos.
All right.
Let's get it on. Is that what he was saying?
I think his Spanish is getting better.
Larios a 3-1 favorite to win this fight. An opportunity to move upward and onward.
This should be a collision. Freddie Roach, working in Vazquez's corner, says whoever takes control of the fight early is going to win it. Oscar Larios, talk about a throwback, Roy. He's had 60 fights at age 29. I wouldn't be at all surprised if he winds up in the Julio Cesar Chavez neighborhood with 90, maybe 100 fights in his career.
I wouldn't even, because it doesn't seem as though he's slowing down at all.
Fights the same way he did 4 years ago. There, Vazquez gets him with a left hook and a hard right hand, and Larios goes down.
And he was hit while he was down.
6, 7, 8. Venga para acá. Venga. ¿Está bien?
A fighter I know who did that got disqualified.
Quick.
Roy Jones, first defeat.
That was a different time and place. Now let's see if Vazquez can go ahead and take advantage of the early damage he's done. And now Larios lands a left hook that knocks Vazquez back and momentarily off balance.
Freddie Roach, the trainer, is convinced that Larios doesn't fight well moving backward, and that's why Vazquez is attacking the way he is.
Well, Jim, do you think Larios remembers that punch now?
Yeah, and I think that was Vazquez's intent, right? to put him right back into round 1 8 years ago.
Remind him early.
Seems to have recovered very nicely this time, as opposed to 8 years ago when he was 20 or 21.
Unless there's any question about whether Larios has his legs back, look at him moving and generally for the moment using his legs to shorten or rather lengthen the round and give himself a better chance to recover.
His leg and those long arms. Look at his jab.
Oscar Larios hadn't had a fight in more than 7 months. That's the longest layoff of his entire career. Maybe the long layoff had something to do with the quick knockdown.
Well, he is showing his versatility here because he can box, and he needs to box to get out of this round.
Yeah, it started as a war. They were going after each other, and Larios has completely changed his pattern already, probably for the purpose of making it out of round 1 and back into the fight.
There's no sense in doing nothing crazy and getting caught with another big punch.
But those 4 punches give Larios a chance to maybe narrow this to a 10-9 round rather than a 10-8 round, because even though he's been down in the knockdown, if he could markedly win the rest of the round, then some judges might give it 10-9.
I don't think so, Jim, because that was a very
brief rally,
clean knockdown, and it's not like he's won every minute since then.
I agree. At the end of the day, most likely that was a 10-8 round. Good left hand punch to the belly by Larios to punctuate the round.
Okay, deep breath, Julio. All right.
Vamos a hacer nuestra pelea ya, ¿eh? Okay. Estás llaveando muy bien. Boom, boom, boom.
Let's do a good fight now. We got a jab and then hook. And the right hand. When you jab, be quick.
Here you see Israel Vazquez come in with a right uppercut followed by a left hook and a straight right hand. A beautiful 3-punch combination that hurt Larios. And then he followed up with more uppercuts from both hands and eventually sent him to the floor.
And got a good right hand in while Larios was clearly all the way down on his knee.
A beautiful 3-punch combination that started off followed by a left uppercut and a double right uppercut.
That's what got Roy Jones disqualified against Montel Griffin in Atlantic City about 9 years ago. Total in round 1, Larios 13 out of 56. He wound up landing more punches in the round than Vazquez. Vazquez was 12 out of 66. Larios averaged 107 punches per round in the second fight between these two fighters 3 years ago. So his punch output was limited in round 1, but of course he was recovering from the knockdown. How's this for a quote from Freddie Roach? And we've seen him with so many great fighters, including, of course, Manny Pacquiao. Roach says of Israel Vazquez, he's the greatest champion I've ever worked with. Nobody comes to the gym with a better attitude. Nobody works harder and more honestly. I've never known a nicer boxer. That's high praise.
very high praise, especially from a trainer who trains so many different fighters and sees so many different personalities.
And who worked for the great Eddie Futch as his protege and therefore has a really broad vision of what matters in the sport. Vazquez has done well to the body in the last 30 seconds, but Larios just nailed him with a good straight jab. Larios is beginning to get his jab in order. Like that.
He's fighting a very smart fight, Larios, and he's not trying to allow Vazquez an opportunity to trade with him. He's moving around him to the left, using his big jab to keep him off balance so that Larios can't plant on none of those hard punches that he threw early.
Can Larios move like that for 12 rounds? Well, not many fighters could, but he has enormous stamina.
And I happen to believe he would be one to be favorite to be able to do that for 15 rounds.
You miss 15-round fights, Roy?
Yeah, I do.
What about the safety factor?
That's why I understand it and I don't complain about it, but I know a lot of these guys wouldn't be able to survive for 15 rounds in there against a real fighter. But for safety purposes, I think it's the best thing.
Round 2 has been a tactical round with Oscar Larios moving, rotating to his left, occasionally coming back to the right, landing his jab, looking to mix in other punches, and Israel Vazquez trying to find the close quarters that allowed him to do damage in round 1.
And I think the knockdown worked in Larios' favor in round 1 because it made him box more and not try to sit there and go toe-to-toe with Israel.
And the right hand and left hook that Vazquez landed there showed you he's still a threat to do damage with his power.
He definitely is, but he's not getting as much of an opportunity to throw them because Larios is moving so much.
And now Larios sets up a good straight right hand. Round 2 comes to a close. Moments ago, referee Jay Nady gave instructions to Bernard Hopkins for the main event.
Belly button to the hip bone blow, that's a foul. I like to be able to see your belly button with your trunk.
Who's giving instructions to whom? Now here's an understatement. Bernard Hopkins is a better talker than a listener. Jay Nady knew that. Interestingly, and Roy Jones, we need a comment from you on this. Jay Nady refereed the first Hopkins-Taylor fight. Come back to a dramatic and significant rematch 4 months later, and you have the same referee. Quite unusual.
Quite unusual, but I think both guys probably feel as though Jay Nady is the best referee for this fight. To Taylor probably because he feels like Jay Nady is not going to let Bernard get out of hand. Bernard because he wants to prove that I'm not going to cry if y'all just give me what I had last time. So he has a lot of making up to do, and Taylor feels safer.
Nady was the referee for your fight with John Ruiz because clearly the Nevada State Athletic Commission did not want that fight to be marred by holding and clinching. I see him as the enforcer referee here.
I do too, and that's why I think Taylor is comfortable with him, but because Hopkins is trying to win over fans, he has to be comfortable with him.
Same referee, 3 different judges, however, than was the case the first time around.
According to Mark Ratner, the head of the Nevada Commission, he hasn't appointed a referee for a rematch, the same referee for at least a decade. He thinks it might have happened with Bowen Holyfield. He didn't remember. He said it was rare but not unusual, or unusual but not rare.
Round 3 continues between Oscar Larios in the red trunks and Israel Vazquez in the blue. They are fighting for supremacy in the 122-pound weight class. Larios has been the more recognized of the 2 fighters over the course of the past 3 years, largely because in their second fight 3 years ago, he knocked Vazquez out in the 12th round.
That first round knockdown has changed the profile of this fight. Instead of standing toe-to-toe, we're seeing Larios doing more boxing.
And as Roy Jones said, and I totally agree, it's helped him. It's made him fight a smarter fight.
Much smarter fight. He won't throw as many punches because he's using his legs more, and he's not in range as much. But it's better for him to not be in range because he's not the stronger fighter here.
Wonder why he would have come in at 120 and a half. Pound and a half under the limit. it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Now Vazquez gets Larios to the ropes, nails him one time, but Larios fires a counter and is able to come back off of the ropes. And now there's blood over the left eye of Oscar Larios and a big cut. Very big cut. They confused the 10-second marker for the end of the round. There's still 8 seconds remaining in the round, as you can see. Dr. William Berliner now looking at the left eye of Oscar Larios, and that's a big enough cut to significantly affect the fight. In fact, this fight is over.
Now,
and I'm not sure what caused the cut.
well,
But it looks as though it must have been a punch, because Larios is lifting Vazquez into the victor position.
I'm a little surprised by that stoppage. It must have been a very bad gash, which we really couldn't see, because normally they would give the corner a chance to see whether they could patch it up or not.
Oh, I saw it, Larry. It's horrible. It's a very, look at that. It is all the way across under the eyebrow, and you can see how deep it is. Roy, it had been hard for him to fight with that.
Yes, it would have. That's why the doctor immediately stopped the fight, because he knew there was no way he was going to let Larios continue with a cut of that stature on his face.
Particularly against a power puncher like Vazquez, a guy who could do some damage there. So the stoppage comes instantly in the third round. It is ruled that the cut was caused by a punch, and Israel Vazquez, for the second time in his career, has upended Oscar Larios to assume the top spot now in the 122-pound weight class.
Wouldn't be the biggest shock of my life if they had to fight each other again.
Wouldn't be the biggest shock of their lives either. So only the 4th loss of Oscar Larios' career, 56 wins, 4 losses, and a draw. 39th win for Vazquez against only 3 losses.
Again, for those of you out there who have seen this scenario in the past and a fight be ruled as a no contest, the reason that it is a TKO is because the cut was caused by a punch, not by a headbutt.
And that kind of cut is so routinely caused by a headbutt that you're almost shocked to see that it's caused by a punch. Normally, it has to be a headbutt to create that deep a division above the eye. But in this case, there was absolutely no equivocation about the fact that it came from a punch. Oh, that's a mess. Let's go to Michael Buffer for the official particulars on the TKO victory for Vazquez.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. Referee Tony Weeks, acting on the advice of the physicians at ringside, calls a halt to this contest because of a severe laceration suffered by Oscar Larios. The cut was caused by a punch. This contest ends in a TKO victory for the now IBF and WBC Super Bantamweight Champion of the World, Israel El Magnifico Vazquez.
Let's look at some replays and see if we can find a right-hand punch here. I don't think it could have been caused by a left-hand punch. At least it would seem highly unusual.
Well, it's tough. There go a right hook that could have definitely caused it, followed by another right hand. So that definitely could have caused the cut. However, I don't see any bleeding yet. But those 2 punches could have easily, there it is, had to be those 2 punches, because now he's wiping blood.
Yeah, I believe it was the second of the 2 punches. The nature of the angle at which he threw that second punch would suggest that that could have been the rip.
First, that one right there would be the rip, because the inside of the glove got a hold to his eye. I guarantee that came from the inside of the thumb of his glove.
Just like Lennox Lewis against Vitaly Klitschko in Los Angeles 2.5 years ago.
I guarantee you that's what caused the cut, the inside of the glove.
It was exactly what happened between Lewis and Klitschko. It was a different kind of angle as Lewis's glove slid by the side of Klitschko's face, but it's the lace on the inside of the glove and the seam at the side of the glove which can cause that kind of a cut.
And it definitely was unintentional.
Oscar Larios, 35 out of 154, landing at 23%. Vazquez was landing at a lower rate, but found enough power punching opportunities to both knock Larios down in the first round and cut him in the third round and get a TKO victory. And Larry Merchant stands by with Israel Vazquez.
All right, congratulations, Israel. Did the memory of your first fight, when you won by a one-round knockout, make you want to attack him in this fight and carry the fight to him.
La memoria de tu primera pelea cuando lo noqueaste en el primer round te forzó a que lo fuera más agresivo para noquearlo otra vez.
Sí, yo pienso que sí. Yo dije que iba a cambiar el estilo de pelea para esta ocasión. Lo hice, yo pienso que hice un buen trabajo para poder noquearlo.
Yeah, I think it did. It helped me a lot. It motivated me. I knew that I would change my style and jump on him right away, and it did.
It turned into a boxing contest after that. Were you shocked at how suddenly the fight ended?
Después de que lo tumbaste, la pelea se convirtió en un contest de boxear, ¿sabe? Estilista. ¿Te sorprendió de tan rápido que se terminó la pelea?
Sí, algo. Yo pensé que Oscar es un peleador muy duro. Pensé que él se iba a levantar a querer ir con todo. Así lo hizo, pero pude conectar los mejores golpes.
Yeah, it surprised me, but Oscar Larios is a good champion. He got up and he continued fighting, and we came out.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
¡Viva el rey! ¡Viva el rey, cabrón! Bueno, felicidades. Yo te felicito, cabrón, y échale.
Oscar, were you stunned in the first round like you were in your first fight with him?
¿Estabas atundido en el primer golpe que te dio, como lo tuviste en la primera pelea que hicieron? ¿Estaba golpeado?
La verdad, en el primer round sí me sorprendió, sí me tumbó bien, de golpes y todo. Es un buen fuerte peleador y pues así es esto.
Yeah, absolutely. With this knockdown, he did hurt me. I was hurt, but I recovered.
All right, you were boxing him well, and then you got cut over your eye by a left hand, or a right hand. Did you feel that this was a terrible cut? You took it. You took the fact that the fight was stopped very well.
Después que lo tumbaste, te levantaste, estabas boxeando bien y un golpe, un derechazo. ¿Sentiste tú que era un golpe, una herida suficiente grande para que pararan la pelea?
No, pues la verdad no me la he visto, pero de modo así es esto. Entonces el doctor por eso me revisa, están los pies, están todos. Y pues hay que reconocer cuando gana uno y cuando le toca uno perder. Y pues hay que seguir adelante. Me gustaría una revancha con él, porque la verdad yo creo que sería una buena pelea. No sé.
I haven't seen the cut, so I don't know really what went on, but the doctors determined that it would be stopped. I would love to have a rematch, and we hope that comes about soon.
Thank you very much, Oscar.
Me permite mandar